Pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture.
The mic wasn't on. So now I got to go through all that again. All right. I have a collection of pop culture stories for Nailsin ratings coming your way, but a few other stories caught my eye that I'll have to do live, and so that's what I'll do. A couple of those, and then we'll get to the full body of the show in the tape shows that I did. It runs about an hour and a half, so there's a lot of them. And then there's one more that I forgot to put into the cut, and so that one I'll load it and then run that before I leave. I think that's how that'll work. So that ought to do it. So in the meantime, I completed a New York Post Stories video. That'll be a part of New York City Crime Report with Pat Dixon over at compoundcensored.tv. And you can check it out there if you are a subscriber. If you're not, do subscribe and use the promo code Dixon. And even if you're already a subscriber, you can retroactively apply it and get that sweet, sweet discount. Yes, yes. And new episode of the Mr. Nailsin Show podcast on radiomisfits.com. I completed that. You can get the Mr. Nailsin Show anywhere where you get your podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. You just look up the Mr. Nailsin Show. and it'll have 2 brand spanking new episodes of Perhaps, but maybe not. That's right. It's a segment that covers, well, usually the paranormal stuff, cryptids, all that, and occasionally actual science. And this one story shocked even me. Well, not so much shocked, but kind of like, eh? So anyway, that's in there, but also the latest episode of Sun King, my Superman parody audio play. Yeah. So, oh boy, all kinds of goodies from your pal, Mr. Nailsin. Hey, that's me. So we'll do that. As always, your super tips are greatly appreciated, and I will play them. I will. All right, so let me go ahead and get this thing going. I'm going to try to do this little trick. If I can match up the music just with it. It's my Nailsin Ratings Star Wars intro that I do for Star Wars videos. Haven't done it lately because Star Wars is, well, we know it's over. But every now and then there's stuff about it that's interesting, at least to me anyway. So I will do that, provided I can get the music. Let's see if I hit the thing so the video plays, and then how fast can I run over to the music? Let's see. Let's see if I can do. Oh, it just plays out. Okay, I gotta start over. Okay. Here we go. You ready? Here we go. All right. Well, big deal. I didn't get the thing in there. All right. It's official. Kaka is out. Dave Filoni in as Lucasfilm president and head of Star Wars. Gosh, she looks shocked about it all, you know? Huh. Wonder why that is. Shouldn't be. Well, I guess because every time it was announced, or people said it was coming, and then, nah, not really. Anyway, Lucasfilm and Disney have announced a major leadership change as Kathleen Kennedy steps down as president of Lucasfilm after 14 years. As expected, Dave Filoni has been named president and chief creative officer at the studio, with Lin-Win Brennan stepping up as co-president overseeing business operations. Oh boy, the move confirms months of speculation and positions Filoni, the creative mind behind the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Mandalorian, and Ahsoka, as the new face of Star Wars going forward. In the official announcement, Filoni acknowledged the influence of both Kennedy and George Lucas on his career. Yeah, let's lean more into Lucas, huh? You know, my love of storytelling was shaped by the films of Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas. We now know she had little to nothing to do with any of that. Don't we? I think we do. I never dreamed I would be privileged to learn the craft of filmmaking from both of them. You didn't. Only one of them. From Rey to Grogu, Kathy has overseen the greatest expansion in Star Wars storytelling on screen that we have ever seen. I am incredibly grateful to Kathy, George, Bob Iger, and Alan Bergman for their trust and the opportunity to lead Lucasfilm in this new role, doing a job I truly love. May the Force be with you. Filoni will continue working on upcoming projects, including Ahsoka Season Number 2 and The Mandalorian and Grogu film, which hits theaters May 22nd, 2026. He'll also steer the overall creative vision across all Star Wars platforms, from DP to the big screen. Wow. Lin-Win Brennan, a 25-year veteran of Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic, joins Filoni as co-president. Brennan's business leadership has been instrumental in Lucasfilm's technological innovations and strategic direction. Really? She emphasized the company's rebel spirit and voiced strong support for Filoni's creative direction. Lucasfilm has played such a meaningful part in my life, said Brennan. It's a community of inspiring storytellers with a rebel spirit like no other. And I am honored to join Dave Filoni in leading us forward. I have been so fortunate to learn from George Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, and Alan Bergman, and have unwavering faith in Dave's creative vision for the next chapter in this storied studio's legacy. Brennan began at ILM in 1999, led the visual effects studio by 2009, and was appointed general manager of Lucasfilm in 2015. She became president and GM of Lucasfilm Business in 2024. Kennedy will remain at Lucasfilm, in a producing role, starting with The Mandalorian and Grogu and Star Wars Starfighter, directed by Sean Levy. Well, Mandalorian Grogu is directed by Favreau, isn't it? Anyway, while she's stepping down as president, Kennedy will stay involved shaping key projects. Bob Iger and Alan Bergman praised Kennedy's leadership. Why? With Iger noting she was handpicked by George Lucas himself. Boy, one of the main regrets he has to have, And Bergman calling her a tremendous force in the industry. Get it? Force. Turns out it's female after all. When we acquired Lucasfilm more than a decade ago, we knew we were bringing into the Disney family not only one of the most beloved and enduring storytelling universes ever created, but also a team of extraordinary talent led by a visionary filmmaker, someone who had been visionary filmmaker, handpicked by George Lucas himself, no less, said Bob Iger. We're deeply grateful for Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, her vision, and her stewardship of such an iconic studio and brand. Kaka has been a tremendous force in the industry for 50 years, and it's been our privilege to have her here at Disney leading Lucasfilm for nearly 14 of them. Headed Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Berg. She has steered Star Wars to incredible box office heights and brought a new generation of fans into the fold. No, she hasn't. The film started out big and then fizzled, one after the other. And then you stopped making them all together. Under her. Anyway, we appreciate having her on board to produce our next couple of films. Yeah, just a couple. And the studio remains in extraordinary, capable hands with Dave Filoni, who's a brilliant storyteller. He is. And Lin-Win Brennan, an avid innovator and business leader. They're deeply passionate and experienced executives who will continue to drive the studio and Star Wars forward in exciting, new directions. Well, Kennedy herself reflected on her tenure. When George Lucas asked me to take over Lucasfilm upon his retirement, I couldn't have imagined what lay ahead. It has been a true privilege to spend more than a decade working alongside the extraordinary talent at Lucasfilm. Their creativity and dedication have been an inspiration. And I'm deeply proud of what we've accomplished together. I'm excited to continue developing films and television with both longtime collaborators and fresh voices who represent the future of storytelling. Kennedy took over Lucasfilm in 2012 after Disney's $4 billion acquisition, a pile of money that they burnt to the ground. She launched a new Star Wars trilogy, multiple billion-dollar box office hits like The Force Awakens and Rogue One, and ushered in the streaming era with shows like The Mandalorian, Andor, Ahsoka, and more that we won't mention because, you know. However, her time also saw fan backlash, really, over divisive creative choices and canceled projects. You know, like depicting Luke Skywalker as a potential child killer. This leadership change is widely seen as Disney's effort to reset the franchise under Filoni's more fan-favored vision. Really? Huh. Did you see Ahsoka? I mean, I barely saw it. I mean, it was hard to stay awake. But anyway, just yesterday saw the announcement that Disney is revamping Star Wars Land and bringing back Darth Vader, Luke, and more. You know, Star Wars stuff for a Star Wars park. Who'd have thunk it? Kennedy also offered an update on the state of Star Wars, confirming things are on hold. Kennedy, one of the most decorated producers in Hollywood, leaves behind a legacy of more than 70 films, multiple Oscars, and collaborations with Spielberg, Lucas, and others on blockbusters like E.T., Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and The Sixth Sense, all of which she really had jack squat to do with. I mean, her name's there. Her name's there. But that's it. Yeah. Well, turns out there's other things to talk about on this subject. So, Kathleen Kennedy admits Star Wars films are on hold as she exits Lucasfilm. Well, why? Why? Kathleen Kennedy has confirmed what many suspected: most upcoming Star Wars films are effectively paused as Lucasfilm transitions, to new leadership under Dave Filoni and Lin-Wen Brennan. In a wide-ranging exit interview with Deadline, Kennedy acknowledged that multiple high-profile Star Wars projects are either on hold, backburned, or awaiting decisions from the incoming leadership team. Notably, she made no mention at all of the Daisy Ridley new Jedi Order movie. Huh. I wonder why. When asked directly about the status of various Star Wars films tied to big-name filmmakers, Kennedy was blunt. James Mangold's Star Wars movie, written with Beau Willimon, is on hold despite what she called an incredible script that breaks the mold. Mangold recently signed a huge deal with Paramount. She also confirmed that the Steven Soderbergh project, written by Scott Burns and involving Adam Driver, is likewise on the back burner. Hey, you don't say. I've got to tread a bit carefully here. James Mangold and Beau Willimon wrote an incredible script, but it is definitely breaking the mold, and it's on hold. Mangold is really on the back burner, as is Soderbergh's. Yeah, he jumped ship. He's at Paramount now. Taika Waititi. Who? Oh, yeah. Has turned in a script that Kennedy described as hilarious and great. Yeah, as much fun as Love and Thunder. Good Lord, what a piece of crap that was. But she's stressed. It's no longer her decision to move forward, so you can expect that when they get flushed down the commode. Donald Glover has also submitted a script which remains in limbo. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. It's not just my decision, especially when I got a foot out the door. Donald Glover has turned in a script. I think the ones by Taika and Donald are still somewhat alive. That's going to really be up to the new team to figure out. Yeah. As for Rian Johnson, remember him? Yeah. Boy, did he subvert expectations, huh? Yeah, they thought the film would be good. It wasn't. Expectations subverted. Anyway, Kennedy suggested his return to Star Wars stalled due his Knives Out commitments at Netflix. That's not why. You know why. And the backlash surrounding The Last Jedi. Yeah, that's the main reason. She said Johnson got spooked by online negativity, despite her belief that The Last Jedi is one of the franchise's best films. That tells you all you need to know about Kennedy's thoughts on Star Wars, such that they are. I mean, she's the idiot who sat there and said, hey, look, we got to make these stories up out of scratch. It's not like we have a backlog of novels and comic books and stuff to fall back on. Yeah. Once he made the Netflix deal, and went out to start doing the Knives Out films, that has preoccupied a huge amount of his time. That's the other thing that happens here. Yeah, sure. And then I do believe he got spooked by the online negativity. I think Ryan made one of the best. Okay, whatever. I can't take any more of that. The only project Kennedy explicitly said has strong internal support is Simon Kinberg's proposed new trilogy. Kinberg recently completed a detailed 70-page treatment after Lucasfilm reworked the story, with a full draft expected soon. Kennedy said both Dave Filoni and Lin-Win Brennan are very much on board with Kinberg's direction, which would push Star Wars theatrical plans well into the 2030s. So she says, hey, he's working on that. It's going to be amazing. Perhaps the most telling detail from the interview is what Kennedy didn't say. Despite previous announcements and ongoing speculation, Kennedy made zero reference to Daisy Ridley and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's new Jedi Order movie. When outlining the future slate, she instead focused on Kinberg's trilogy, The Mandalorian and Grogu film, and Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter. The omission strongly suggests the Ridley project is either stalled or no longer a priority under the new regime. It's been thought Disney yanked the project from its release schedule and has been canceled. Kennedy emphasized that decision on which Star Wars films move forward now belong to Filoni and Brennan. While she remains open to producing projects she helped develop, she said she is not mandating anything and wants the new leadership to fully own the creative direction. That way, she doesn't get any more blame, you know? Well, there's still some rumors that Rey shows up in the Star Wars Starfighter film. It's sort of a cameo at the end of it. So maybe that's the compromise. I don't know. But without Kennedy around, I don't think the sequel trilogy gets much more attention, you know? Well, hey, why did the Star Wars films fail? Well, according to Kaka, it was fans, misogynists, bots. Russian bots? That's what Ryan Johnson said. So I guess this just goes over more of the thing. According to Kennedy, the fans simply wanted the same thing. Like say you did a Star Wars movie that was almost frame for frame the same thing as the first Star Wars movie. Oh, wait, you did exactly that with Force Awakens. Then Last Jedi, oh my God, with all that crap. But then you kind of did an ass backwards Empire movie. Shut up. But yeah, studios don't freeze billion-dollar franchises because of a small number of loud voices online. Yeah, it was pretty massive. Despite The Last Jedi earning $1.3 billion worldwide, Kennedy said Johnson was spooked by online negativity. Yeah. Okay. Who cares? You killed it. You know you did, and that's that. You killed it. It wasn't bots. It wasn't anything of the sort. It was you. Yeah. Oh, well, that's it for Star Wars. Meanwhile, there's what's left of the Game of Thrones world with House of the Dragon. Now, the first season of House of the Dragon was pretty damn good. The second one, well, halfway, and then it just went out with a fart, you know? Then, of course, he suddenly had to turn a character into a lesbian so there can be a lesbian relationship, even though the main thing about her story is her obsessive relationship, albeit incestuous, with her uncle, but that's what they did. So I don't know, take your pick, but whatever. George R.R. Martin, who everything is his fault because he won't finish the damn story, but might just have explained what happened with House of the Dragon season number 2, which was nowhere near as good as the first season. Yeah, I know. In a new interview with The Hollywood Reporter, the Game of Thrones author says his relationship with showrunner Ryan Condal has completely deteriorated. It's worse than Rocky, Martin said. It's abysmal. Martin says the two worked well during season 1 of the hit Game of Thrones prequel, but that changed by season number 2. Martin explained his fallout with House of the Dragon showrunner Ryan Condal began after season 1 when Condal allegedly stopped listening to Martin's creative input. Despite once being close collaborators, Martin claims his notes were ignored on season number 2, eventually leading HBO to filter his feedback through the network. Tensions escalated when Martin published a blog post airing his frustrations, which was quickly pulled after HBO intervened, but not before it spread online. According to Martin, Condal stopped listening to his notes, and HBO eventually asked the authors to submit feedback. He's repeating the same thing. Okay. This is not my story any longer, Martin reportedly told Condal and HBO producers on the call. Whoops, that's a problem. Following the clash, HBO temporarily removed Martin from involvement in House of the Dragon. He's since been brought back, though the studio declined to detail how much input he now has. Martin has long said he believes adaptations of his work should remain faithful to the source material. Yeah, that works well when there's source material, That's why Game of Thrones went at the end, And he clearly feels Dragon is drifting too far. Condal previously said he tried to include Martin in the process, but ultimately had to march forward to keep production on track. Season number 2 of House of the Dragon premieres later this. No, you mean season number 3. Season number 2 is the one you're talking about. Man, geez, come on. But anyway, behind-the-scenes drama may be just as fiery as anything involving the Targaryens on screen. Yeah, usually when they start to fail and all collapse into ruin, it's the corporate soap opera that remains interesting. And that's it. Just ask Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all that. Oh, well. Meanwhile, over at Amazon, you got Tomb Raider. So Sophie Turner suits up as Lara Croft in first look at Amazon's Tomb Raider series. Well, she kind of looks like her, minus an important couple of assets. But other than that, Amazon MGM Studios has officially released a first look image of Sophie Turner as Lara Croft to mark the start of production on the new Tomb Raider live action series. Get your artifacts out. She's on her way. Well, that's how Amazon announced the start of filming on Thursday, January 15th, unveiling Sophie Turner in full Lara Croft gear, including dual thigh holsters, fingerless gloves, tactical harness, and signature red tinted glasses. Yep. There you go. Well, the live action Tomb Raider series is now filming under the creative leadership of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. All right, abandon all hope. This is the problem. Yeah, that's it. He serves as creator, writer, executive producer, showrunner, the whole shebang, and co-showrunner alongside Chad Hodge. Jonathan Van Tullochen is directing and executive producing. Yeah, but the deal. Joining Turner in the series are Sigourney Weaver and Evelyn Wallace and Jason Isaacs and Atlas de Mornay, both major new characters. The supporting cast also includes, all these people. The new Prime Video series is based on the long-running Tomb Raider video game franchise, which has followed Lara Croft across multiple reboots and generations. This marks the character's return to live action since the 2018 film reboot starring Alicia Vikander. Vikander? I don't know. I didn't see those, so... Netflix recently concluded its own animated take, Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, with Haley Atwell voicing the character. Can you imagine Haley in that suit? Oh my God. Well, that was a missed opportunity, okay, it's a cartoon, but... Well, anyway, the live action series is produced by Amazon, blah, blah, blah. Well, there you go. Look on the bright side. Sophie at least she's a woman, so there's that. That ought to do something. Okay, well, there you go. You're caught up on the extra stories that popped up on my way to doing whatever the hell it is I'm doing here. So we'll go on with the other stories and sit back and enjoy this tour through pop culture, Nelson rating style, featuring a vampire story that could have been a lot of monsters, stuff like that. The WBD bidding war continues, and there again, these studios and entities produce more entertainment in their corporate soap operas than they do from the material they produce. It's funny how that works. And then, and a mummy. Yeah. So we'll just get right to it. So do enjoy. Say, let's take a look at what's going on in that old WBD bidding war. Oh yeah, it's still going on. What's this? Trump to the rescue, saving Warner Brothers for Paramount over woke Netflix. I don't know, could be. Well, a new twist. Well, kind of, sort of. Some of these elements were kind of obvious from the get-go. Somewhat, anyway, or suspected. But anyway, a new twist in the high-stakes bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery is making headlines, and this time it involves none other than President Donald Trump. Well, it has for some time again. I mean, while the president has distanced himself from the sale, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, even backed out. That's right. Trump now seems to have fully aligned with Paramount against Netflix. According to a recent New York Post report by Charles Gasparino, Paramount Skydance has moved to Plan D. For Donald? In its bid to derail Netflix's so-called winning offer for Warner Brothers Discovery. After multiple failed strategies, including an all-cash $30 share offer, a potential hostile takeover, and even threatening litigation, the Ellison-backed studio is now playing the long game. Insiders for the site say they're focused on hammering home the enormous regulatory risks surrounding the Netflix WBD merger, hoping the deal collapses under its own weight. And now they may have found their biggest ally yet, President Trump. So here you have Trump's truth post, and it's this article talking about stop the Netflix cultural takeover. So, yeah, it's a problem because there's a lot of woke crap on Netflix. And if they become the dominant source for all, popular culture entertainment media, then, and they kind of are, more than, more than others. And then they're going to absorb HBO Max and all that. So, there's reason for concern. See, look at that look he's giving the logo of Netflix. No. Anyway, Trump posted a One American News article on Truth Social titled "Stop the Netflix Cultural Takeover, Slamming the Deal as an Ideological Power Grab by a Woke Media Monopoly." The article accuses Netflix of seeking to consolidate unprecedented cultural power by acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, home to iconic brands like DC Comics, HBO, and Harry Potter. Yeah. More gender swaps, race swaps. Yeah, Superman and Batman coming out of the closet. All kinds of stuff like that. I don't know. The Flash becomes trans. Something. Anyway, the message If Netflix controls these assets, it could become the most dominant cultural gatekeeper in history, able to rewrite characters, retell history, redefine social norms, and control which ideas reach audiences. Well, so far that path hasn't worked, but I guess they figure we're the only game in town, Now it'll work. The woke era has tried so many ways to do this, and they bled money and audiences. Yeah. I mean, if you're a shareholder in this, you what? Yeah. Anyway, Trump's repost was seen by many as an endorsement of Paramount Skydance's rival bid and a warning shot at regulators. It also follows Netflix's biggest show, Stranger Things, going completely woke in its final season. Well, I differ on that. Yes, there's gay storylines in it. And yes, they made a big deal about a storyline in like it was some big revelation of a character that he's gay when it was well established already. Well, within the show before you got to the final season. The real big revelation was part of the lore and story that, he's got these special powers as well and that sort of thing. But it's overshadowed by that. And the way they dumped it in there, yes, for the message, takes away from the story itself, which wasn't that great. Stranger Things just didn't have enough material to last as long as it did. But it had the fandom, and people were, intrigued by the aesthetics of it and everything. And the first season is great, But nevertheless, once you get in to that, and you dump that in there for the same old reason as shielding. So yeah, kind of, sort of. It's if you're complaining about how bad the final season of Stranger Things is, then you're obviously a homophobe. So that's why things like that are exploited for it to some extent. And so, true to form, that template of television and filmmaking, which has been played out through the woke era, to the Hollywood's detriment, appeared right there at this late hour, still doing that. But I think it speaks more to, I don't know what to do. We don't have a story. Yeah. And then, hey, guess what? The guy we were telling you was gay, he's gay, and it's, yeah. So anyway, absolutely woke now, just really lazy and bad. Yeah, they just had nothing. But, I see why people would assess it as such. Anyway, this aligns perfectly with what the Ellisons and Redbird Capital have been arguing for months. The Netflix WBD deal is a regulatory nightmare waiting to happen. Well, just because Netflix is woke doesn't violate any regulatory, it means their dominance. And that becomes into monopolist territory of where they're the only game in town. And of course, beyond just wokeness, which is true, would be a serious issue. But so would just a monopoly in any iteration. So Netflix is offering $27.75 per share and a mix of stock and cash for Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max, with an extra $3 per share tied to a risky cable spinoff, CNN, TNT, Discovery. But that $3 is looking more like a pipe dream, as investors balk at the $15 billion debt dumped onto the spinout. Yeah. Besides, $30 is more than 27. Anyway, meanwhile, Netflix has lost over $160 billion in market cap since the bidding war began, and skeptics question whether it can even afford the deal. The Ellisons are calling out the declining value of Netflix stock as another ticking time bomb for WBD shareholders. Yeah, they got to consider that because, again, the 27 payout is a mixture of cash, not in total, and stock. But as the stock is continuing to decline, how much trust can you put into that? Anyway, and that's before regulators, exactly, that's before the regulatory problems come into play. And that concerns Netflix is already a dominance in streaming. They keep citing YouTube, but that doesn't really play into it. YouTube is an entity unto itself. But I don't think it's enough of an argument for them to bypass antitrust laws, especially when they're absorbing the number 3 streamer here. So, yeah, they're not blowing smoke. This is a problem for them. Combining Netflix, number 1 in streaming, and WBD, number 3, could trigger an antitrust firestorm. Even Mario Gabelli, a longtime WBD investor, told Gasparino the deal is too convoluted and should be simplified, saying bluntly, cash is king. That's why he favors the Ellisons. All cash offer. Yes. Even if the Ellisons fail with WBD, going forward and all that. Look, it's always a gamble, but you're going to get that cash. And if you feel not confident with any of these buyers, you can sell, at the right time, which might mean immediately. I don't know, but still between the two, So, Anyway, perhaps the most explosive claim is that WBD's board favored Netflix, not because of price, but because of politics. Well, I can't help but think that there's some shenanigans going on here. I would have thought that the personal deal for members of the board of Warner Brothers is better with Netflix. They've got some little extra going forward with the new company that's formed as a result of the merger, and that's good only for them, not for the shareholders at large. And I suspect there's something of that nature there. Whether the politics plays into it more, could be, but I would think it has a lot to do with that, more so than that. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that, politics does play a role. The writer of the OWN article was also interviewed by Congressman Matt Gaetz on his show and accused Warner Brothers leadership of choosing Netflix for ideological reasons despite Paramount's higher offer. Gaetz even suggests this may be a breach of fiduciary duty, implying that WBD executives prioritize progressive alignment over shareholder value. Well, either way, yes, this is true. You got to explain this math. And, Netflix says, hey, you're taking on more debt, Paramount. Yeah. But your stock's in decline. If true, it could trigger a wave of scrutiny and possible litigation. It already has. So with Netflix's offer under fire from both investors and the Trump-aligned political base, the tide may be turning. Paramount Skydance's strategy of staying quiet and letting Netflix implode, Plan D, may prove to be their smartest move yet, as Trump signals a willingness to intervene. The Netflix-WBD merger could soon find itself in the DOJ or the FTC's crosshairs. And if that happens, all bets are off. It was always the case, though. Trump posting it stirs it up a little more, but nevertheless, the department and the antitrust laws are there. I mean, it's a part of the government's interest in this, and you got to pass, that labyrinth as well, when you consider these mergers. And it's starting to look like a bigger stumbling block than Netflix would have anyone believe. So Paramount Skydance may still get the last laugh with help from the former president. He's president right now. Well, anyway, update. Yes, Paramount has filed a lawsuit which seeks to force Warner Brothers Discovery to disclose financial details on the Netflix deal. WBD has failed to include any disclosure about how it valued the global network's stub equity, how it valued the overall Netflix transaction, how the purchase price reduction for debt works in the Netflix transaction, or even what the basis is for its risk adjustment of our $30 per share all cash offer. Paramount Chairman and CEO David Ellison wrote in an open letter to WBD shareholders. Yeah, that's true. Because again, even a layman idiot like me can see that $30, all cash, not combination of cash and stock, is more than 27, you know. I mean, yeah, sure, the stock could suddenly skyrocket for some odd reason, and then it might surpass $30 per share. But up front, you get the $30 if you go with Paramount. Yeah. So, all right, let's take a look at the lawsuit. Yeah. So yes, Paramount is suing WBD. So the Paramount versus Netflix battle for Warner Brothers Discovery just escalated into a legal and shareholder war. Well, the shareholder war was already declared, I would say, because, hostile takeover and all that. But anyway, Paramount Skydance Corporation officially filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers Discovery in Delaware Chancery Court, accusing the WBD board of withholding critical financial information from shareholders as it pushes forward with a controversial $27.75 per share Netflix deal. Hey, you got to explain that math. Yeah. So let's take a look. Anyway, the lawsuit is part of a multi-front offensive as Paramount moves aggressively to force the board's hand and bring its superior $30 per share all-cash offer directly to investors. In an open letter to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, Paramount CEO David Ellison outlined an aggressive new strategy to push forward the $30 all-cash offer. Paramount has filed a lawsuit demanding the WBD disclose key financial details about the Netflix deal, including how the $3 spinoff equity is valued and the impact of transferring debt on shareholder payouts. At the same time, Paramount plans to nominate a new slate of directors for election at WBD's 2026 annual meeting. Directors who would be committed to exercising WBD's right to engage with Paramount's offer. If WBD calls a special meeting to vote on the Netflix merger, Paramount will launch a proxy fight to oppose the deal. Additionally, the company is proposing a bylaw amendment that would require any spinoff of WBD's global networks, including CNN, TNT, and Discovery, to receive shareholder approval. Ellison blasted WBD's board for refusing to even engage with Paramount. We remain perplexed that WBD never responded to our December 4th offer, nor traded markups of contracts with us. It just doesn't add up. Much like the math, the math, on how WBD continues to favor taking less than our $30 per share all-cash offer. The lawsuit accuses Warner Brothers Discovery of failing to disclose basic valuation metrics surrounding the Netflix transaction, such as the actual worth of the cable spinoff, how debt shifts
affects payouts and how the board risk-adjusted Paramount's offer. Under Delaware law, shareholders are entitled to clear financial information when evaluating competing bids. Paramount claims WBD is denying that. Well, yeah, I mean, if they got a good explanation of how 27 is better than 30, well, let's hear it. Anyway, the legal move follows weeks of public outcry and mounting pressure from investors and political figures, including President Trump, who recently reposted an article slamming Netflix woke media monopoly and visions and backing Paramount's position. With this filing, Paramount has made one thing clear. It's not going away quietly. If the WBD board won't come to the table, Ellison and Redbird Capital will try to replace them. That would be hilarious if they pull that off and stop the Netflix merger from ever closing. WBD shareholders are now caught in a high-stakes battle for the future of one of Hollywood's most iconic companies. On one side is Netflix, promising a complex mix of cash, stock, and spin-off equity. Yeah, you really gotta show the numbers on that. You don't go for the 30. Stick with our 27 mix of all this maybe might be. On the other hand, Paramount offers clean cash at a higher price and backing of political heavyweights. So, oh boy, yeah. So I mean, I don't like any of this. It would have been better if Warner Brothers was still a healthy company, but it just isn't. This will be the third time it's been sold because of the failures in management of past ownership. I mean, Zaslav from Discovery is brought in just to polish this thing up and try to sell it. Well, that's underway, but it seems might be a little dishonest behind the scenes. I suspect some amount of shenanigans. Is it overtly political? I'm sure that weighs into some of it, of course, but ultimately probably gets a better deal personally, and other members of the board as well, than the rest of the shareholders, and that's unethical, you know. And so you're really going to have to put the cards on the table to explain this, because this is odd. So between the two, it's like I said, this is a terrible situation. It's the consequence of absolute arrogance and failure on the part of Warner Brothers that led it to this position. But between Netflix and Paramount, and not just for the political reasons, but Paramount seems to have a more sense of loyalty and interest in theatrical releases and that sort of thing. And so that makes it the better of the two. This Netflix saying, yeah, we'll put them in theaters for a while, and then that's going to end. You know, it's just, there's no real model for it. They haven't pursued it. They haven't really respected that. And I suspect it's just not going to happen. But with Paramount, especially since they've already announced they've got an aggressive plan for, I think they said 30 films a year and this sort of thing. And then if you add the Warner Brothers IP to that, that's even more. So it'd be a lot of movies they intend to release in theaters. So that would be a great boost for the theaters and all that. And that would be preferable from my vantage point on this. But if it goes Netflix, the entirety of Warner Brothers IP, which is massive, is just gone from theatrical release. So, like I said, it's not a great situation, but it's much better if Paramount wins this. And look, I'm seeing things here. I mean, just, granted, I'm no financial expert on mergers and all that sort of thing, but just the basics here. Something don't smell right about the Netflix deal. So, yeah, I'm Team Paramount. Maybe it's a default setting, but nevertheless, hopefully they pull this out and win it. It'd be preferable if they were able to do it before the regulatory shenanigans happen and all that. Because even if it's all on the up and it's by law and not just political gamesmanship, which, it's always the case, but it's really going to hang over it. going forward and all that. So it'd be much better if they're successful at just winning this outright. And I mean, the lawsuit of discovery and all that, that might do the trick. Because again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It seems a lot more risk with the Netflix deal than with the Paramount one. Anyway, that's what I'm saying about it. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned for the saga of WBD bidding war.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. A breast milk motive for theft caper. Before stealing a used Stanley Cup from a female co-worker, an accused thief remarked that the insulated tumbler would be great to hold my breast milk. Well, cops arrested Ariana Moss, 29, on a misdemeanor charge in connection with the December 29th theft at a recreation complex in Largo, Florida. Moss was observed on video surveillance looking at the cup numerous times before taking possession of the victim's 40-ounce light blue Stanley Cup and concealing it in her lunchbox before exiting the Highland Recreation Center. Moss, cops say, saw the 22-year-old victim frequently drinking that day from the $60 Stanley Cup during multiple interactions with the victim. At one point, a witness/employee told police Moss had pointed to the cup sitting on an office cabinet and remarked, "This cup would be great to hold my breast milk." Okay. Moss, who worked as a supervisor, quit her job 3 days after the incident and has not been heard from since. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing and all very stupid. Moss was arrested and booked into the county jail, for which she was released after her husband posted $150 bail. Well, it's a weird story, crazy thing that she stole someone else's tumbler to put her breast milk into it, you know. But other than that, yeah, this isn't worth 5 seconds of anyone's time. This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
So the Russo brothers are teasing clues in these, Avengers Doomsday teasers, trailers, whatever. Did Cyclops grow some Wolverine mutton chops? Because Jean Grey likes it? I don't know. Marvel Studios has cranked the hype for Avengers Doomsday into overdrive alongside the official release of the recent trailer, which features Fantastic Four's Thing, Namor, and the Warriors of Wakanda. Okay, I mean, you couldn't say, like the Fantastic Four and Black Panther return, but no, it just said Wakanda return. Okay, whatever. The Russo brothers have returned to the spotlight, teasing that the footage fans have been watching may hold more than meets the eye. Wow, they're going to bring the Transformers into it. Anyway, what you've been watching for the last 4 weeks are not teasers or trailers. They are stories. They are clues. Pay attention, because there's going to be a quiz. One of the things you've come to know about Marvel, there's a lot of homework. Yeah. There's stories. See, they got to make up for what the previous movies didn't do. Like they did for Infinity War. There was a lot of groundwork laid in the other movies. Little all right, teases, within movies that were solid unto themselves, but they weren't able to do that this time around. They were too busy farting around with, I don't know, and then reshooting the crap out of those because, I don't know, they didn't have anything. Now here you are, desperate, desperate for people. Come on back, guys. Marvel is still the bee's knees and all that. Well, the post is accompanied by the hashtag Doomsday has begun, setting the stage for a deeper mystery surrounding the film, which has had no development. On the back end, ass backwards, they'll weave it in and say, you thought that movie was about this, but it was really about this, or that, or whatever. No, it's too late for that. Now, the Doomsday film might be fun unto itself, and you got all the old network stars doing the Battle of the Network Stars and all that. And, hey, look, remember from that? Yeah. I guess that'll just have to be enough. Already the big reveal, who is Dr. Doom? He's Robert Downey Jr. You had to do that. Because if you just put Dr. Doom in there and you make a big deal about it, the Marvel fans would know. But I mean, the overall movie-going audience, you didn't develop Dr. Doom the way you did Thanos. So you were trying to do that with Kang, but then you ran into troubles and you just scrapped it when you probably should have recast it. I mean, but there again, you weren't developing him well at all either. That's nothing about the actor. Of course, his own scandal caused problems, but yeah, you were stumbling and farting around. And now here you are, trying to do this Hail Mary pass when you'll still be down, several scores, 10 to 20 in at the bottom of the fourth quarter, so pay attention, boy. That doesn't come across very well. So adding fuel to the speculation, Marvel has activated a doomsday countdown clock on its official YouTube channel. The ominous timer overlaid on a shadowy Avengers A glowing with green energy is counting down to December 18th, 2026, the official theatrical release of Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, and a lot of these designs looks like the room that Kang was in, or the He Who Remains, and all that variant of him. And then, of course, Loki ended up replacing him. So Loki plays a pivotal role in this. So you have, if you did your homework, you'll recognize some elements of these from the Loki show, which played a role in the Deadpool movie. But the Deadpool movie was just those two guys getting together and having fun, and that was it. So they're going to try to do that on a much bigger scale with Avengers Doomsday, and gee, I hope it works, and it might, but it'll work just for the movie in and of itself, because that's what happened for Deadpool. Deadpool, it cracked $1 billion. Yeah, Marvel's back. No, that was good for Deadpool. So Avengers Doomsday might crack $1 billion. That's good for Avengers Doomsday. And you're right back in the toilet where you were, So anyway, with the cast already confirmed to include massive MCU and multiverse players, you know the deal. Now fans are combing through every frame of every teaser looking for the clues the Russos hinted at. One thing is clear. Marvel's Doomsday has officially begun. So, well, can't really see what's going on here. But in the Wakanda one where they meet Ben Grimm, it looks like they're wandering around in the limbo world that was featured prominently in the Loki series and in Deadpool Wolverine. So my guess is that's where they are, and they run in to Ben Grimm and probably the rest of the Fantastic Four and that sort of thing. Because people from other realities are going to end up there. So if you did the homework, that won't come as too big of a shock. But a lot of people didn't do the homework. So, So that's the Wakanda thing. As for what clues and teases was there for the X-Men, where, well, you show a devastated, well, somewhat, it's pretty messed up X-Men mansion, and you've got Xavier and Magneto sitting there, and looks like they're best of buds again, and all that sort of stuff. But something terrible has happened, and so they got to go into one more battle. And probably, well, not probably, it's something Doctor Doom did has resulted in this. And then you see Cyclops taking his goggles off and blasting his eyes with his, beams, and suspect something really awful has happened to Jean Grey, and he's devastated. And that's the case. And so he's really gunning to get revenge on what happened. And so you can speculate on that. And that's probably the deal for the X-Men universe, and that it's doomed, thanks to Doom. And then, of course, the Fantastic Four just now introduced. So it really doesn't hold the weight that the likes of X-Men did and all that. But nevertheless, they're going to repeat the multiverse shenanigans that they started with Spider-Man. Thor, I don't know. He's in that forest. Is he back in Norway and he's praying to his dead father, wanting tips on how to raise a little girl, which is where he was left at the end of that god-awful Love and Thunder movie, which again had a great plot, but they screwed it all up with their idiot jokes. And then it had, well, a great plot, except for the massive plot hole at the ending. Yeah, pretty stupid. But anyway, that's it. But where is he? What's this for? Okay. And then Steve Rogers, where is he? He's back in the past. He married, Peggy, and they had a child. That's where he is. But what does it have to do? One of the leaks, and there's probably something to it, that Steve Rogers changing time, which he did when he went back there. He was supposed to return the Infinity Stones, which he did, but instead of coming back to his own time, he decided to stay in the past, reunite with Peggy, marry her, and live out his life with her. We already knew what became of her. It seems she succumbed to dementia, and died. And they mentioned a husband, but we never knew who he was. We now know that was Steve Rogers. So, you got the time travel element there. And it was the means by which they ended the Steve Rogers story. We never saw him die, so maybe old man Steve will make an appearance here and realize, did he have an encounter with Doom or something of that nature? But him messing with the timeline, which never came up in the Loki show, which was all about messing with the timeline and stuff like that, because Loki himself is a variant that shouldn't exist, but he was created by Endgame. So there's also the theories that Endgame and the post-Endgame era, which no one really likes, will be wiped clean, and there'll be a reset. So more than likely, yes. So something of that nature would occur, and that's why you have this reunion of the characters that people care about. What does this have to do with Robert Downey Jr. playing the role? Are they going to, it's Tony, are they going to do anything like that? Will they reveal that, yes, there was an alternate Tony, and Dr. Doom took him over, which his ability does have in the comics. He can switch bodies with people. He did it with Reed Richards and so on. Or they're just going to retcon and rewrite the story where an evil Tony Stark becomes Dr. Doom. And that's not the story. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You'll get the real Dr. Doom later after the reboot. And then hoping the Fantastic Four bombed, and they're hoping to have a franchise out of that with a successful Fantastic Four franchise would be at least 2 more Fantastic Four movies. I don't know. You have this moment in the Wakanda teaser where Ben Grimm shows. Oh, look, it's Ben Grimm. Most of the people don't know. They didn't go see the movie. And you just introduced them. You know, and that's the odd thing about it. It's like I've been saying it all along. The Fantastic Four movie, the plot for it, it's the kind of thing you would do for a Fantastic Four Part 3. You know, you bring in Galactus. You know, but they did that in the first one. So, boy, it really is a franchise that's run out of time. So I guess the ticking clock is appropriate overall. But oh man, it is a Hail Mary pass. You know, they had to bring an aircraft carrier load of money for Robert Downey Jr. to come back, and that's the deal. And then everybody else, you know, gee, I hope you'll show up. Won't it be fun? Well, at best, it might be fun to go watch that. But again, does that save everything? Well, there's another movie, Secret Wars, that follows this, which may or may not be split into two. So that gives them 3 movies. But is that enough to get people all excited? And maybe Secret Wars will start to introduce the new young cast that will take on these roles. I'm pretty convinced that Sadie Sink from Stranger Things is the new Jean Grey, but you know, from another, or she could be the Jean Grey for the MCU. It was there all along, you just didn't know about it. And of course, the X-Men we knew from the Fox films, well, they're from the Fox universe, and this will be their final outing. And that sort of thing. Maybe some of them will survive and they'll go back to their universe or whatever. Who knows? But nevertheless, the new X-Men will appear. And there is this plan that the X-Men will take center stage of MCU going forward for a while anyway. We haven't seen them in a while. Certainly not an MCU iteration. So, okay, you know, but hopefully the delivery and that this is the jumping off point for their new MCU can survive this. But man, did you dig yourselves a hole. Can they pull it off? Well, maybe. I'll give it to them. They've still got a better chance than Star Wars does. So, but still, these franchises, they keep either digging a deep, deep hole or they build a Mount Everest hill to climb to succeed. I'll see what happens.
It's said that King Arthur was Britain's greatest ruler. Well, he got the throne by pulling a sword out of a rock. This gave him a massive hernia. He turned to Merlin, but eating rat tails and rubbing frog guts all over will not cure a hernia. Anyway, he couldn't fuck all that well on account of his condition. So his wife turned to Lancelot. Yeah, he hired a guy named Lancelot to guard his horny wife. So Lancelot lanced her, a lot. Meanwhile, Arthur got seduced by his sister, and their inbred offspring did him in. It's all sad if not so stupid. Still, though, Britain would be better off with a ruler like Arthur today.
So by now, you've heard the news about Blade, but I thought I'd talk about it anyway, because I just feel so sorry for it. This is ridiculous. How many years I've been waiting to get this going? And it's a story about a guy who fights vampires. The Wesley Snipes Blade movies really built the Marvel Universe. I know everyone, no, it was Iron Man. That's when the MCU began. But for the studio, Blade, the success of Blade bankrolled that endeavor. And all this time later, this is how they treat it. Anyway, let's take a look at this sad, sad story. See, he's standing in the rain. Even the imagery is sad, He's got to be crying, But anyway, the mashallah, the Mar. Oh man, I'm always getting this guy's name wrong, and I apologize. I'm just stupid. The Marshala? Let's go with that. Marshala. Blade is claimed to be dead, at least as a solo movie. That's the latest from industry insider Jeff Snyder, who reports that Marvel Studios has scrapped plans for a standalone Blade film and will now introduce the character as part of a team-up movie instead. See, I could understand a team-up movie coming later after your new Blade has been established and all that. But Blade's already proven himself as a character that can carry his own franchise, his own films. This is just stupid. Anyway, he will not be introduced in a solo movie, Snyder said on the hot mic. He'll be introduced in Midnight Suns. So again, Midnight Suns could be something where you have these other characters who they haven't really introduced. I suppose they could have included a Moon Knight because there's supernatural elements there. Werewolf by Night they introduced. He could play a role in that. They still haven't introduced their Ghost Rider, except, well, they did on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they've already said that's not canon. So I guess they couldn't put him in it. But, you know, characters like that deal with the supernatural rather than, you know, sci-fi powers or mutant powers and stuff like that. Doctor Strange could even have a cameo in something like that. You know, they could have done it. He really could have done superheroic, like horror movies with some of these characters and then have them come together. And then Blade would be perfect with that. You know, and you could have built it out of his movie. And probably could have done it on the cheap. Idiots. This marks yet another twist in the long and troubled development of Blade, which was first announced nearly 7 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con 2019. Despite having Oscar winner Marshala Ali attached since day one, the project has faced constant setbacks, from losing directors to scrapped scripts and major creative overhauls, because it's tough. It's really tough to write a story about a guy who fights vampires. Yeah, there's all these comic book material to look at and maybe adapt some of that. You've had 3 movies already, but I don't know what to do. Yeah, you had this actor who's now about as old as Wesley Snipes. I mean, you made him sit there all this time, an Oscar winner, and this is how you treat him? Well, Marvel hasn't confirmed anything. This new rumor tracks with recent developments. Last summer, Variety reported Marvel had no sense of urgency around Blade. And recently, Mia Goth, rumored to play Lilith, confirmed the movie reached costume fitting and chemistry testing stages, only to fall apart. Kevin Feige himself recently admitted they went through at least 4 versions of the film, including 2 set in the past. One of those reportedly focused on Blade's daughter. And I'm betting this is the problem. You know, they let these woke parasites in, and now they're stuck with them. And they're like, yeah, this would be terrible. I mean, it would be disrespectful to the character. You got to have all these, you know, gender swaps in this case. So, okay, Blade can be in it, but he's going to be sidelined by his own daughter. And then she'll be the new Blade, you know? No, Blade movie's got to have Blade, you know? Sidelining Marshala Ali. That version was scrapped, and some of its costumes are repurposed for Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Yeah, that's another thing that came out of Sinners. Came out of this. And of course, it's a vampire movie. Surprise, surprise. But yes, they were going to do this period piece with Blade, and then I assume end similar to Sinners in modern times, establishing Blade in the MCU, you know. So anyway, Midnight Suns is Marvel's darker supernatural team, typically made up of Blade, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and others. Marvel has already introduced characters like Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night, so the path is set for potential crossover. Yes, sort of. Not really enough. You know? There's just no real excuse. I mean, by now, you should be talking about Blade 3. You know, the MCU Blade 3. In all that time, you couldn't do a vampire movie. Ooh. Yeah, the move to shift Blade into a teen setting, but maybe Marvel's attempt to salvage what's left of the project. For God's sakes. Maybe wait till after your reboot and the dust is settled from Secret Wars and stuff. But by then, Mahershala Ali is like, look, I'm too old for this now. You know, he's supposed to be playing an immortal vampire. Oh, man, you had time for Marvels. You had time for Agatha. Oh my God. The move to shift Blade, made to salvage while also streamlining its slate amid superhero fatigue and a company-wide reset. Yeah, you could emphasize the horror aspects of Blade and the like. But if Blade would be your foundational character for these others to come into a crossover. But I mean, as much as I enjoyed Werewolf by Night, I don't know how many people watched it, but it was easily the best damn thing their D+ efforts have done. Moon Knight, it had its moments, but that wasn't all that great. So you really haven't established all this. And then, hey, look, Midnight Suns is, as much as I, again, like Thunderbolts, look how that turned out. Thunderbolts is a good movie. But it had no gravitas for it, and the Marvel brand stinks now. Well, worth a mention, if Blade and or Midnight Suns ever does happen, it will happen after the release of Secret Wars in 2027. So that's basically a decade after Mahershala Ali and Kevin Feige first announced the project. Yeah, it's terrible. It's embarrassing. You have characters. You don't need to race swap them. They tried to gender swap here to some degree, but you don't need to. You've got a well-established, ready-made black character, and this is how you treat him. You had your female Captain Marvel, who the original Captain Marvel was white and male, but the female Captain Marvel, the first female Captain Marvel, was a black woman. And you guys who preach this stuff all the time miss that. Yeah. And then you had Black Panther. You did that. That was good. He was even better in Civil War. That was a good debut for the Black Panther character. But his movie was pretty good. And then sadly, Chadwick Boseman died, and so I can understand maybe resting Black Panther for a little bit and maybe develop something else like Blade, in the meantime, and then recast. Not his sister. She could be a part of the cast and stuff, but you got to get another actor to play the role. Oh, look, there's a new capable actor who's a veteran of superhero films. He played Black Manta in the Aquaman films. He's available. Oh, you've already cast him. Oh, boy, who's he playing? A race-swapped Wonder Man for a DP series you're going to dump real quick and no one's going to watch and it's gone. He should have been your new Black Panther. And the gall of Hollywood and the like to lecture everybody on racism and representation and all that. You're idiots. Absolute idiots. So, and especially something like this, like I said, like Black Panther, I could see how that could get with Wakanda and everything, and an expensive film and whatnot. But Blade, you see, characters with horror elements and supernatural and stuff like that. There's means and ways to do that and emphasize the horror on the cheap. And you could have saved money, and you could have developed and carved out this other genre to skirt the superhero fatigue. It's still superheroes. It is. Don't get me wrong. But that's, it takes creativity and thinking. Apparently you don't have it. Even just the basics of, yet again, a guy who fights vampires. Oh boy, it mystified you. You just couldn't crack it. Embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. You're so arrogant, you probably won't be, but all that money they had, he got lazy, fat and lazy. And that's the best way to put it. I don't know. I wouldn't be expecting any Blade stuff anytime soon.
Crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news. Bitches be cray cray, she cray and she looking, that's pretty cray. Extra, extra, read all about it. Crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news. It's all in her eyes, somewhere between the lies, the shrinking of her size, the trap between the thighs. Bitches be cray cray, she cray and she looking, that's pretty cray. Extra, extra, read all about it. Crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news. It's all in lies, somewhere between the lies, the shrinking of her size, the trap between the thighs. Bitches be cray cray, she cray and she looking, that's pretty cray. Extra, extra, read all about it. Crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news, crazy bitch news. It plays crazy bitch news.
Well, Tatiana Maslany, I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. She-Hulk is mocking Marvel and Avengers rumors and stuff like that, because what else is she going to talk about? Nobody wants to hear the rest of it anyway, But is She-Hulk even in the Avengers movie or not? I mean, there was concept art that leaked out. Later, Russo's brothers said, no, that's not anything to do with it. But it kind of looked legit and whatnot. But then again, I mean, maybe it was just AI stuff, but it could have been AI done purposely to be concept art. We know the movie changed over time. It was originally Kang Dynasty. This is before the Russo brothers were involved. So a lot of the elements of, multiverse shenanigans and the like, and leading to Secret Wars and what have you, a lot of those templates, I'm sure, are still in place. It's just a matter of, what characters will be featured. So if not Avengers Doomsday, perhaps Secret Wars. But no one really cares if She-Hulk shows up. I mean, the only thing that thing achieved was just how much of a massive pooping the bed moment of the She-Hulk series was. And also they revealed that apparently Doomcock lives rent-free in Marvel's head. It's at least some parts of it. So, there's that. Yes. So thanks, She-Hulk. Now, She-Hulk was always supposed to be the happy Hulk, Hulk was the pissed off one, Look at her, just raging and everything. Oh, well, Tatiana Maslany isn't holding back. Or maybe she is. The She-Hulk attorney at law star responded to recent Marvel Cinematic Universe rumors with a heavy dose of sarcasm and mockery while appearing on the comedy Bang Bang podcast. Okay. Maslany poked fun at reports suggesting she was cut from Deadpool and Wolverine and refused to return for Avengers Doomsday due to a supposed falling out with Disney. I feel an article coming. It's out there. I already got dragged, she joked. He didn't like the 2 scenes that I did, so he fired me. And then I got litigious. I took Disney to court and Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. When podcast host Scott Aukerman, I guess, I don't know, teased that she'd be returning for Avengers Doomsday, Maslany ran with it, fueling the flames with more satire. Nope, Disney has approached me to play She-Hulk again. Guys, I said no, because I just did. This is the facts. They're out there. You can read the articles about it. I was really mad at them for kicking me out of the movie. I was just mad. I'm woke. It's woke feminist stuff. I was like, how dare you cast a woman in this role? That's disgusting. She added with a laugh. They really wanted me to be in Doomsday Avengers style or whatever. I turned them down. I'm confirming it here. While her tone was clearly tongue-in-cheek, some fans online believe there may be a hint of truth buried in the jokes. Yeah, they probably just say, look, it's not going to work. Nobody likes your character. Thanks anyway. It's probably something like that, if anything at all. Maslany's comments come after a wave of speculation that Marvel Studios quietly cut She-Hulk from its future plans. Yes, a recent rumor claimed Marvel wanted She-Hulk to play a major role in Avengers: Secret Wars, but Maslany declined, allegedly over her issues with Disney. I doubt it. What else has she got going on? You know? More than likely, the decision may be Marvel's. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. She-Hulk attorney-at-law failed to gain traction on DP, drawing criticism for its tone, writing, and special effects. Combined with ongoing budget cuts and pullback on content, the studio is likely moving on from the character altogether. They need characters that are going to get butts and seats. And despite her butt shaking all over the place, it's not getting anyone in seats. So, yeah, that was a colossal failure. And look, her attitude has been terrible, but ultimately it's not her fault. She didn't write the damn thing. The sad thing about Tatiana Maslany is she's a very talented actress. Now, she came to prominence in Orphan Black, which is a series that fizzled, but again, that's not her fault. It's the writers. They ran out of ideas. But her ability to play those multiple characters was quite astounding. She did a very good job at that. So she's a very capable actress, probably like most actors and artists, has a few screws loose, and, loses her temper and flies off the handle on things. But nevertheless, that's the sad thing about it. A talent that got wasted on this idiot crap when there was potential there. Really what should have happened was do a Hulk series, sort of a modern take on the Bill Bixby series, and spin She-Hulk out of that. And the differences between the two. Hulk has this terrible life. He's haunted by being the Hulk, and he's not sure he can control it and all that. Not the stupid hipster Hulk. Get rid of that. Apparently they're going to do that in the Spider-Man movie. Finally, yeah, that's a good idea. But nevertheless, you could have done that. Like, he loses control. He thought he had control, but he loses it. And it's this sad, tragic thing. But She-Hulk, as a result of the interaction with the Hulk, has the better life. She becomes kind of a star and everything. And that's the story of She-Hulk. As for, I wanted to use the fourth wall breaking stuff, which John Byrne introduced in her series. This predates Deadpool and all that, but these guys just were not funny. And this thing, yeah, it massively pooped the bed. Almost more than Amber Heard. Sorry. And to be fair, despite her nasty attitude and all that, it's not really her fault. It's not. But that's, like I said, the sad thing about it. Because I've seen her do great work. She's a very capable actress, but she got wasted on crap. Well, once again, of course, there's a lot of negativity in talking about pop culture. And I'm as guilty as anyone else on that because a lot of them are bad because they suck. Yes. And I noticed. However, there are diamonds in the rough. There are great wonders out there. And one of those was Godzilla -1, which I never thought. Some Godzilla movies I liked. I was never a big fan of Godzilla, but there's quite a few that I enjoyed. The MonsterVerse movies I've liked. Okay, they a little over the top and kind of silly at times, but they're fun, and I haven't been upset with them or anything. But Godzilla Minus One blew me away. It's a great film all around, just beyond it being a monster movie, and was really impressed and looking forward to what this director could do next. Well, I'm in luck because he's going to do a sequel, or has done a sequel. It's on the way for Godzilla Minus One. So Godzilla Minus Zero, release date announced for November 2026 in theaters. Looks like Godzilla's ready to go. Well, getting in shape. Godzilla is coming back with a vengeance. Toho and G-Kids have officially announced that Godzilla Minus Zero will hit North American theaters on November 6th, 2026, following its November 3rd premiere in Japan, a symbolic date marking the original release of Godzilla back in 1954. Director and screenwriter Takashi Yamazaki returns for the highly anticipated sequel to 2023's Godzilla Minus One, which earned over $116 million worldwide and became the first ever Asian film to win Best Visual Effects at Oscars. Well deserved, because it's astounding and it's practical. And this guy's really, you got to pay attention to Yamazaki. This guy knows what he's doing. Anyway, G-Kids is proud to bring Godzilla Minus Zero to North American audiences following the incredible global reception of Godzilla Minus One. G-Kids president David Justet said, "This next chapter is sure to become another defining moment for the most colossal monster ever to dominate the screen. It is only fitting that this bold, new Godzilla event be experienced in its fullest theatrical glory, and we're honored that Toho has entrusted us to carry this legacy forward." So there you go. Minus Zero. Plot details remain under wraps, but the title Minus Zero suggests a direct thematic follow-up to Minus One, which portrayed Japan as being brought below zero after the devastation of World War II, only to be further crushed by Godzilla's rampage. The upcoming film is expected to explore the aftermath of those events, with fans speculating on an even darker chapter in the franchise. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. The only dread would be, could it damage the greatness of the film? It's possible, but it's so damn good. And I don't know if any of the characters would return. I mean, obviously Godzilla would, but anyone else, it might go on to other vantage points and venues of people who dealt with this event. And then, oh boy, he's not as dead as he thought. Or maybe there's another Godzilla. I don't know. No, it's probably the same one. But nevertheless, yeah, really hyped. Very, very hyped for Godzilla. And that's one of those that I think, yeah, it's a Godzilla movie. What the big deal? And it's beyond just a Godzilla movie. So well done on that. And so that's one I'm excited for. You know, a lot of times I'm down in the dumps about movies and shows and whatnot. But so far, there's a couple here, and Godzilla Minus Zero is certainly one of those. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Godzilla, as I mentioned before, there was the Monsterverse series, and of course, it had a spinoff TV series. You know, they're trying to do their Marvel take on these properties. I liked it okay. You know, there's a couple of things I would rather they didn't, but yeah, overall, and I'll give it another shot to see what the second season will be like. So there's a little bit of news on that, and an article anyway. A Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 trailer unleashes Godzilla Kong and new Titan X. Oh boy, the splitting eye thing So Apple TV has officially released the teaser trailer for season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, confirming the return of legendary titans Kong and Godzilla, while also unveiling a new threat, Titan X. The hit sci-fi drama, which helped launch Apple TV deeper into franchise storytelling, returns globally on Friday, February 27th, 2026, with a 10-episode season. New seasons will premiere every Friday through May 1st, 2026. Well, I'm not going to play the trailer again because, again, I don't know what the rules are. But everybody's back, both Russells playing the same Russell. Or, so they'll still be jumping through time and stuff like that, detailing the story. And it connects to the movies as well. But I think the approach they're doing so far, this show is very dependent upon itself. And it always brings up what I believe, it was Chris Gore who mentioned that when you do this sort of thing, and Marvel, I guess, had to learn this the hard way, is that the movies affect your TV shows, but the TV shows cannot affect the movies. So if you follow that simple pattern, then you should be fine. And the show is good in and of itself, even if you haven't seen any of the recent Godzilla versus Kong movies and the like. So, yeah. I mean, it could all go south and become horribly stupid. And then, all right, I know, because here we go again. Season 2. They lure you in with the first one. And then, oh, no. But anyway, in addition to the MonsterVerse favorite, season 2 introduced Titan X, a mysterious and bioluminescent new creature described as a living cataclysm. The trailer teases Titan X emergence from the ocean depths, accompanied by ominous narration and shots of the world holding its breath as something ancient and powerful surfaces. The creature's origin and motives remain unclear. Probably wants to destroy everything. But it's hinted that Titan X will be the central force behind the new season's unfolding mystery. According to the official description, Titan X is an ancient force emerging from the deep. Its purpose uncertain. Its power unmatched. Yeah. Season 1 followed siblings uncovering their family's connection to the shadowy Monarch organization, tying into events from both past and present. Season 2 picks up where things left off. Yeah, with Kong showing up, with Monarch's very existence under threat and multiple timelines converging. The new season sees familiar faces return to Skull Island, home of Kong, while also introducing a mysterious village tied to Titan mythology. The past ripples into the present as long-buried secrets test the bonds of family, loyalty, and survival amid a looming Titan-level event. See, she looks concerned. The main cast includes Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell. Yep. As dual versions of Lee Shaw, along with everybody else. You know, the crew. Monarch Legacy of Monsters is part of the expanding MonsterVerse franchise, which has grossed over $2.5 billion globally since launching with Godzilla in 2014. The series follows the success of Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, the highest grossing entry in the franchise to date. See, that's the other shared universe thing that's, successful. DC stumbled. Marvel had a good run, then stumbled. Conjuring did well, and then there's MonsterVerse. So, they don't always crap the bed immediately, but it may, there's troubling signs here and there. But anyway, Legendary and Apple have committed to expanding the MonsterVerse even further, with multiple spinoffs in development, including a Young Lee Shaw prequel series. Well, but that's already in the Monarch show. But starring and executive produced by Wyatt Russell. That prequel will be showrun by Joby Harold, who also oversees broader MonsterVerse development at Apple under a new deal. Wyatt Russell is proving to be a pretty solid actor. Takes after his dad, of course. And so I don't know, maybe there's something there, but I don't know. It's just material he's already covered in the show, and he did a good job of it. But anyway, the upcoming Godzilla X Kong Supernova is set for theatrical release in 2027. So there we go. Yeah, the creative team and all that for the movie. But again, elements of the show might play a role, but ultimately, elements of the movies can affect the TV show. But you can't be telling people they got to do the homework of watching Monarch to be good and ready for Supernova. Now, don't do it like that. You're going to piss off your audience. I know you want everyone to tune in and all that, to make Apple a thing and all that, or Apple TV a thing, rather. But once you piss off your audience, they tend to stay pissed. But anyway, let's hope for the best, and we'll see how Monsterverse does. It won't be as good as Godzilla Minus Zero. I'm pretty sure of that. But, you know, if it's fun, then that's good. Oh, yes.
As the song goes, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Turns out that was truer than most realize. People think Spider-Man shoots webs out of these devices on his wrists that he invented. This is true, but he also naturally shoots webs out of his ass. Butt webbing wasn't very practical, so he made the wrist things. However, sometimes, especially after a bout of diarrhea, Spider-Man ended up with his ass glued to the toilet seat. So when Dr. Octopus robs a bank, or the Green Goblin bombs a hospital, people ask, where the hell was Spider-Man? Turns out he was stuck on the potty.
Right now, one of the most successful, if not the only successful film or movie franchise is horror. Certainly like Weapons and whatnot won big time. And the ones that had draw were horror films. And there's a lot to be said for horror. It's always a good way for people to understand the craft of filmmaking and whatnot. A lot of groundwork can be done on that very cheaply in a lot of ways, depending on what your story is and what you're trying to pursue with it. But nevertheless, horror is always a bit of fast. I can't say it always was. I was more into science fiction and fantasy as a child. But as time went on, horror got my attention more and more, and now quite a bit. So one of the things was there was always these teases of classic horror. And of course, there's the classics of literature, Dracula and Frankenstein, but the classic horror that Universal introduced with those particular monsters. And could anyone take that on? And there's been attempts, and there's been hits and misses here and there. And recently there's been more attempts, and again, hits and misses. Probably the biggest disappointment for me was the recent Wolfman film. It had a couple of interesting approaches to it, but overall, it just fell flat. Well, now, and of course, they're going to revive the Brendan Fraser Mummy series. That's apparently in the works, but that's more of a sort of, was more akin to an Indiana Jones movie than a horror movie, which is fine for what it is. But now there's this new attempt for a mummy film that will be a horror movie. And it's a new and interesting take on it. It's not the standard of the Mummy story, certainly not the one utilized out of Universal, either the Boris Karloff one or the later iterations that the Hammer films did. This looks like it's leaning into horror and that sort of thing, but also into a lot of horror reviews that keep coming to the conclusion that a lot of the narratives and whatnot reach that sadness is the ultimate horror. So Lee Cronin's The Mummy trailer unearths a twisted new take on the classic monster, and already that looks really creepy. The first trailer for Lee Cronin's The Mummy has dropped, and it promises a haunting reimagining of one of horror's oldest legends. Some things are meant to stay buried, teases the trailer. That's the chilling tagline for the upcoming film from Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin, who follows up his brutal box office hit with a reimagining of The Mummy that trades in action-adventure for pure psychological horror. What happened to Katie? So there's this missing girl story approach to this. So the official synopsis sets the stage. When the young daughter of a journalist vanishes in the desert, she's presumed gone forever. But 8 years later, she returns. Only something is horribly wrong. What should be a joyous reunion quickly spirals into a nightmare as the family confronts an unspeakable ancient evil now living among them. So see the imagery that's displayed in it. I don't play trailers because I never know what the rules are. Seems stupid. A lot of people do it. Other people get in trouble for the same trailer, and other people don't. I don't know. But anyway, there you go. There's the stars. It's a Blumhouse gig. New Line Cinema, Atomic Monster, all that good stuff. And behind the scenes, Cronin reunites with key Evil Dead Rise collaborators, including cinematographer Dave Carbit or Carbe, editor Brian Shaw. It's his same crew. So there you have The Mummy. So Lee Cronin's The Mummy is slated to hit theaters. Hit it? Well, don't do that. Just be in it. Oh, that's what you mean. In IMAX on April 17th, 2086 by Warner Brothers Pictures. And Warner Brothers has been, kind of a leader in distribution of horror, While past Mummy adaptations leaned into pulpy adventure and mythology, that's primarily the Brendan Fraser attempt. I guess, like the Tom Cruise thing was trying to be a mixture of that. But other than that, that's it. The original Mummy movies weren't that. They're pulpy in the sense there's pulp magazines did cover the horror genre, so I guess you could, but adventure, not so much. Cronin's take appears steeped in atmosphere, dread, and psychological trauma, an approach likely to resonate with horror fans looking for something darker, more grounded, and far more terrifying. So yeah, I'm not going to watch the trailer. It's creepy, as you can tell by the imagery. But the synopsis seems to suggest it sounds like akin to Pet Cemetery, you want a loved one back, but, they seemingly come back, but their soul is not there. Something else is dwelling in it. I think it's probably akin to something like that. But it's not an ancient mummy. The journalist is in the desert. I assume they're in Egypt somewhere. And the daughter gets lost. And perhaps some secret cult left over from the pagan years of Egypt mummifies this girl. And she becomes a vessel for some ancient dark spirit. It's my speculation, but it's probably something akin to that. So, what a horrific story. Just in that the little girl gets kidnapped and I assume murdered, or perhaps she has an accident and the cult decides to do this. I don't know. But of course, you shouldn't be messing with forces you don't understand. So it is a new take on it, and it's very different, but it doesn't line up with the usual story that messing with the graves of the mummies and stuff like that was like, this is a forbidden thing. It's something you shouldn't do. And the curse unleashes this horror upon you is usually the themes that would transpire. But this is at least a different roundabout way to get there. So, somewhat intriguing. Could it just poop the bed and flop? Yes, it could. But it's a take on it, so I'll check it out. We'll see how Lee Cronin's Mummy unfolds or unwraps or something like that. Look, I know a lot of things are very negative when it comes to pop culture. It's like, this sucks, this is crap. because they were crappy and they sucked. But every now and then, there's diamonds in the rough. There's stuff that's really good and catches me off guard, some of these. One of those was Netflix. It was on Netflix, but the One Piece series. I knew very little about it. I knew some of the imagery and stuff like that, but I didn't know the anime or the manga or any of that stuff. But I was immediately charmed and taken by this very weird and just fun show. And all the way through. So now there's going to be a second season. And I'm hyped for it. I dread sometimes because don't mess this up, because usually that's how that goes. They lure you in with that first season, and the second season, oh no. But I saw the trailer and it looks okay. So hopefully it's allowed to breathe and stay true to itself. And if that's the case, I'll be on board for this one. So once again, Cosmic Book News, One Piece season number 2. Again, I'm hoping this will be great. I've been burned so many times. Please don't ruin this. So season 2 trailer unleashes new villains, confirms March release. So Netflix has officially released the first teaser trailer for One Piece Season 2, giving fans their first look at the highly anticipated return of the Straw Hat Pirates, titled One Piece Into the Grand Line. The live-action series had sailed again on March 10th, promising higher stakes, new faces, and the debut of one of the franchise's most beloved characters, Tony Chopper. Okay. The teaser opens with a chilling warning. You will never find the One Piece, a mysterious woman tells Luffy, before attacking him, and with that, the stage is set. Season 2 pits Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji against Baroque Works, a deadly underground group of assassins introduced in the manga's Alabasta arc. All right, I'll take your word for that. The newly revealed villains include Miss All Sunday, Lara Abova, Miss Wednesday, Claritha Shanran, Mr. 3, David Dashmuck. Oh, yeah, that guy. Dashmuck. I can't pronounce it. Sorry, Dave. Mr. 5, Camrus Johnson, Miss Valentine, Jazara Jaslin, Mr. 9, Daniel Lasker, Miss Golden Week, Sophia Ann Caruso. Miss All Sunday delivers a biting line to Luffy in the teaser. You might think you're unstoppable, but your friends aren't made of rubber. And that's always the case, especially, coming out of superhero comics and stuff like that. The superhero, yeah, you might have all these powers, but your family does it, or your girlfriend does it, that kind of thing. So the villain's going to threaten your vulnerable compatriots, Fan favorite Tony Klopper will make his live-action debut this season, voiced by Michaela Hoover, who also provides the facial performance for the character. The adorable blue-nosed reindeer doctor, known for his shape-shifting and oversized art, was introduced in Chapter 134 of the manga. Yes, I have heard. It's still ongoing. And there's a lot of material. Will the show be able to encapsulate all that? No, it's going to have to lean on the adaptation, Series creator Ichiro Oda, I guess, praised the team's work in bringing Chopper to life. From his form and furs to his expressions and voice, a world-class team brought their skills together. And now he's ready to be introduced to the world. Netflix promises that Season 2 will bring fiercer adversaries and most perilous guests yet, as the Straw Hats journey into the Grand Line, the legendary sea known for its wild landscapes, strange islands, and powerful enemies. While showrunners continuing to adapt the manga's key arcs, fans can expect a fast-paced, high-stakes season filled with danger, emotion, and of course, devil fruit powered chaos. So once again, I don't play trailers because I never know what the rules are, but looks cool, looks like the show, and hopefully it delivers as the first one did. So yeah, I'm on board. So there you go. Let's hope for the best here. As typical, everything falls apart. Usually in the second season for these shows, but just perhaps this will be one that won't. It has a lot going for it. I was very impressed with the show. It won me over, and definitely going to be checking out One Piece Season 2.
Go. That concludes the tour of Nelson ratings with the One Piece Season 2 trailer review type deal. I had to tack on at the last minute, but there you go. There you go. Those are my thoughts on those entertainment entities. Perhaps yours differ. Well, that's all right, even though you're wrong. But, you know, that's how that goes. So there we go. That's it for this live stream. I will do others. Why? I don't know. I just do. And probably Saturday morning, if I can, show off some art and stuff like that, work on some things for the Doodleverse comics. And that'll be that. And I got to go pick a story to read for Sunday comics. And then hopefully Monday morning I can do another, art stream type deal. That should be something. Yeah, yeah. But as you can hear towards the end of that, my voice goes out. Yeah, it gets rough. And so I tried to keep it all in, because I could take breaks in between videos, unlike sitting in this chair during a stream. So that's one of the reasons, but also it's just, this is really the only space to put a live stream on. All the good ones are taken. So, it's the way it goes. So let me take a look at Super Tip. Did I get a zoot? No, I didn't. So once again, several shows in, and I'm an absolute colossal failure. So what are you going to do? Well, I'll end the show. That's what I'll do. There's really nothing else. So thanks for watching, and we'll do it again soon, hopefully. And gee, won't that be fun? Well, hope springs eternal, doesn't it? Have a good weekend, and thanks again for watching. Oh, I forgot to promote the comic books. It's indieplanet.com/Douglas-Nelson. And there you go to that page, and you can check out the Nailsin comics and get your copy as soon as possible. Yeah. All right. Have a good weekend.